My name is Nevaeh Montez, and this is my speech, Monica Roberts, the woman who could influence all. Monica Roberts was born May 4th in 1962 in Houston, Texas, to her mother Mabel, who was a teacher, and her father Rick, who was a DJ. Although she didn't transition from male to female until 1994 at the age of 32, she was already battling judgment from society for being different. She was also battling judgment from her own mother and father. Although she was facing racism, she was also facing segregation in the school system. And before transitioning, she was seen as a risk, as most black men were back in the day and still are today. Article writer Samantha Allen stated that Monica Roberts' father had connections based on his work. This allowed Monica to meet Houston politicians. From there, this gave Monica the inspiration to go into politics and take a stand for those in the transgender community, as well as standing up for African American transgender individuals who have been murdered and have not gotten proper news media coverage. With these transgender homicide victims not being identified properly, Monica wanted to make a change on this challenge. On the news media, these transgenders would be identified by their birth name and not how they identify. So a transgender female would be identified by her male name and vice versa for transgender males. When this happened on the news media, this made people watching assume that the issue was not important. Monica Roberts was also concerned with the lack of coverage on the media of hate crimes and murder attempts and killings of black transgender individuals. In order to bring light to the situation, Monica Roberts decided to create a blog called Transgrot in 2006 that documented African American female transgender homicide victims and even some men by how they identified. She also talked about issues she faced when she was younger and even issues that she faced when she transitioned at the age of 32. Her blog page and story has earned her so much respect from many people around the country. She has always supported other activists, including Ruby Corrado, who was the founder of DC LGBTQ youth organization Casa Ruby. Her and Ruby would attend LGBTQ conferences together as support. Monica Roberts also pushed the agenda for Black Lives Matter protest marchers to protest for Black trans lives matters as well. Samantha Allen, the article writer, again mentions that Monica Roberts has done more in 30 minutes than what reporters failed to do in years. Many people loved Monica and supported what she did on her blog page that she won the Special Recognition Award at the GLAAD Awards. From winning the Special Recognition Award, this brought more attention to her work. From her blog page, giving victims proper honor, to the way that she challenged these protesters to march for Black trans lives matter. It is undoubtedly that she has put in so much work for the African American trans community. Unfortunately, she passed away at the age of 58 last fall in 2020, October. With all this that she has done, imagine what more she could have done if she was still with us today. She was a type of woman who could influence all. And my visual aid is this poster. This is a picture of her accepting her GLAAD Award speech. This is her at a conference speaking at a Task Force LGBTQ community conference. This is her at the red carpet of the GLAAD Awards. This is her protesting the injustice killings of transgender individuals in Texas. This is her again at a conference. And this is her speaking again at another LGBTQ Task Force conference. Thank you for listening to my speech today.